Hi, everyone, and welcome to B Data Lit's The Career Download. Specifically, we are here about honest careers, and we have a special guest today, Allison. And Allison, I am so happy to have you with us. And we really don't do a lot of talking in this other than you. So are you ready just to jump right into it?
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to be here.
All right, so we're going to get into your details now. Share some of your background with us, starting with name, age, where you're from originally, and where you are now.
Okay. Hey, everyone. My name is Allison Wright. I am going to be 38 in about 2 weeks. I'm originally from an area right outside of New York City called Mount Vernon, and I am currently living in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
So you haven't moved that far, but
Not really, but I have done a lot of moving within the past 5 or 6 years.
do you think it's because you're in big cities? I feel like people move more in big cities.
Kind of, sort of, but considering the pricing now with New York
Mhm.
City, I don't know if I could ever go back.
All right, so tell us a bit about your home life too. Are you married, single, kids, pets, animals?
So currently it's just me and my partner. We are not married yet. I would like pets, but just haven't had the time. Most likely cats. Other than that, the only thing I'm really taking care of are my plants. I have about 10.
Hey, plant parents is a thing, as you can see behind me.
Yes.
I'm surprised I've kept those alive so far. All right, so what kind of hobbies do you have?
So in terms of hobbies, I'm actually in a band. So I sing in a post-metal group called Glass Artery. We actually just recently released a single, and we're trying to do a little bit of a mini tour. I like going to concerts, spending time with my loved ones, taking walks, and I love food a lot.
Do you have a favorite dish at all?
It's hard to say, but I seem to gravitate towards Asian food a lot, particularly Thai food.
Mm, Thai
Yes.
food's delicious and hard to get in the South. All right, so we know a bit about you now, where you're from originally, some of your hobbies, and you're about to be 38. Tell us a
Yes.
bit about your priorities in life right at this minute.
Oh boy. I mean, the fact that I'm reaching 40, like when it's funny when you're younger and you're, a teenager, it's like, oh, that's so old. And then when you make it, it's like, what was I talking about? It's not that old. It's really not that long in the grand scheme of things. But I would say my priorities now would be continuing to get my finances together. Um, I think part of the problem with being a person of color, you are not as familiar with financial literacy. And you either find out about it later or when it's quote unquote too late.
Would you say this is a different priority than what you had when you were younger, like you just referenced?
Yes, I honestly, I wish I had prioritized it more when I was younger because compound interest, that really adds up.
Do you follow financial feminist at all?
No, but I do follow the financial diet.
Financial feminist is a woman where she started saving when she was in her late teens and made her first 100K in by her mid 20s, I want to say it was.
Wow,
But
that's
she's all
awesome.
about empowering women to be financially stable and solvent through investing.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not something that we as women are taught. It's become
Mhm.
more of a thing now, but that's mainly just because of millennials and younger generations.
Right? I would
Yeah.
agree. We weren't really taught to invest. I'm slightly north of 40, and we weren't taught to invest. We were taught do your 401k and maybe put money away into savings. But other than that, we weren't really told about all the different things that you could do with money. So I welcome my millennial and Gen Z investors to help me even figure it out.
Absolutely. We all should be financially literate.
All right. Since we're not rich, let's go back to your career evolution. Did you go to college?
Yes, I did.
What did you major in for college?
So I majored in Russian language and minored in statistics.
That wasn't what I was expecting your major to be. How
Um,
did you get that as a major?
so when I had transferred, I went to Hunter College, so it's one of the CUNYs. And I originally, when I transferred in, I was an economics student, but it's not something that I guess at the time I thought that I wanted to stick with. So I was kind of like bouncing around with different majors. And then I had become pen pals with a couple of people that actually lived in Russia that were trying to learn English. And I saw that my school offered it. So I tried it. And then I ended up with a degree in it.
So you graduated with a degree in Russian literature?
Language and literature, yes.
Okay. Do you find you use that at all these days?
Once in a while. A person that I used to work with at my previous job called it my party trick. Because people don't expect a person that looks like me to know or understand Russian.
That's definitely, I mean, that is something I would agree with, but I would assume not a lot of people would know and understand Russian
That's
either.
also true.
All right. So, with your degree in Russian languages and literature, what industry do you work in?
I actually work in corporate real estate.
What's your current role working in corporate real estate?
I'm a senior BI analyst.
Okay, okay. So that statistics background that you also had in college starts to come into play a little bit then.
Here and there, but I actually don't use it as often as I thought I would.
Okay. Can you share just a brief overview of when you graduated from college? What was that first job that you had out of college? And what does that trajectory look like to get you to where you are today?
Oh man. Yeah, that was interesting. I I didn't actually know where I was going to get end up at a certain point. So when I graduated, I was still doing like service related jobs. I actually used to work at two music venues, and that was a lot of fun. So I got to meet a lot of people that way and just kind of just learning how to deal with all types. Following that, when my partner and I moved, and that's when I got my first like real job. I was working as an operations assistant in DC, but from there I wanted more, and I had an opportunity to do a boot camp kind of similar to the data school, but not exactly, where I could work for a few months and then they would have us sent out to different clients. So
Okay.
I did that for maybe about a year. Then COVID happened. So I unfortunately got laid off from that job, and I actually got an opportunity to do the millennials and data program with
With Chantilly.
Chantilly. Yes.
Yes.
And that was probably the best experience I could have asked for because it was really pivotal in terms of my current career trajectory, because I got introduced to the data fam. I got more well integrated with Tableau, and my last two jobs were just from leveraging my network through the data fam.
What was it about Chantilly's program that was different for you that worked?
It just felt like it made sense, like everything with the way that it was displayed and just how the program was structured and just the different projects all just felt applicable versus just doing just to do. I was actually really learning and understanding on how I could apply this in my regular life.
That makes sense. She has such an amazing sense of design too, so I can only imagine how beautiful it was as well.
Absolutely.
All right. When you first graduated from college and you had these jobs working in a music venue, um, what were your expectations though? That would you eventually end up somewhere, or was it just the choose your own adventure, or were these things purposeful?
I feel like it was a little bit of both, honestly. I think at that time it wasn't purposeful. It was just have a job to have a job just to get money. It wasn't until I had moved to DC where I realized like, okay, I need to to have a regular job and have something that's steady.
Bit more stable,
Yes,
potentially.
for sure.
So have your expectations changed since COVID and that sense of stability when it comes to
Yeah,
your career?
for sure. The other thing that I definitely learned, which in some ways, I thank COVID for that, is to really just have an emergency fund. Going back to
Mm.
finances, I don't know how long I would have survived for had I not seen, I guess, as my mother would say, the writing on the wall that I needed to take care of myself because I still had student loans
Yeah.
at the time. And I happened to make a good financial decision where I got a variable refinance and my interest rate was like 1.25%. So I paid it off.
That's amazing. 1.2. Holy crap. All
Yeah.
right. So you had this fund that you could use that really helped you when you hit some of these harder times. You said you saw the writing on the wall though. I don't feel like a lot of people do. Can you share what some of that writing on the wall was though when you thought something was going to happen?
So it wasn't necessarily COVID related. It was more so to do with the job where I was one of the few people left in my cohort who was still benched. Like we weren't put with actual like companies yet. We were still with the original, I guess, seed company, so to speak. And they kept telling us, like, oh, yeah, you're going to get placed. You're going to get placed. I got suspicious. So I was like, I
Mhm.
need to start saving some money now. And it just so happened that COVID just coincided with that.
Okay, okay. So what happened to you is what happened to people after COVID
Correct.
started. Okay, okay. Understood, heard. All right. So I'm assuming during this time, though, working for all these different roles, you had the boot camps, you now work in corporate real estate, and you worked in music too. You had to have received some interesting advice over the years.
One thing that I always remembered was one of the managers at that same job that had the boot camp, and it was the whole idea of thinking for yourself, and specifically her words were, "You're not somebody's puppet." Because I think part of the problem is that, and I say this as a person who in one of my previous relationships it wasn't the greatest, and I don't know how much of that was me versus him, so to speak. So being able to really stand on your own and be authentic is really important.
Was that something you really took to heart then?
Yes, for sure.
So was there bad advice that you have received to counter some of that really good advice?
That student loans are good debt.
Mm,
I,
highly suspect.
yeah, unfortunately, I think that's been the rhetoric, which is probably why the student debt is what it's at now, because we
Yeah,
just assumed that we would just get these crazy high paying jobs and
pay them off.
yep.
That would be a new piece of advice that hasn't showed itself on the show yet. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. Yes, pay off your student loans, everybody. What is advice that you tell people now, though, going through all the different experiences that you have?
Um, for me, I would say a career change has no age. So it doesn't matter when that change happens, that you should just go for it. Like the worst case is that it doesn't work out and you move on to something else.
I love that. I love that you brought that up because I feel, and I would love your thoughts on this. Every decade, you have people who think, I've done so much, I can't do anything else. I feel like it happened to people in their 20s because after they graduated from college, there's a sense of loyalty almost to whatever company you end up at. Then you leave them, you become loyal to that next company. It's whoever you're loyal to, you feel almost scared to leave and you're afraid to change too. Have you found that at all?
Um, yes, and that's, I don't know, maybe it's a Taurus thing, but yeah, I like stability. I like having, I guess, that comfort, so to speak, but sometimes that could be to your detriment if it's too much of you being in your comfort zone, because there could be something else out there that's a lot better. Yes, grass is always greener. Yes, it could just totally just fail and have been a bad decision, but you won't know that until you're willing to take the plunge.
Sometimes you shouldn't even compare grass.
Yes, that's another thing too, is that also just not comparing yourself to what others have
Mhm.
done, because everyone's going to have a different experience.
Oh man, that's the hardest thing I have found is
Yeah,
even if you actively know about it, it's still going on in your head sometimes. There's
of
always going to be
course.
that comparison. Any advice for people how to avoid that?
I mean, I feel like this is an overused term, but you're right where you need to be at this point in time. If you're doing everything right, so to speak, if you're really trying and you're pushing yourself and you're seeing results, I mean, maybe not as quickly. Yeah, okay, maybe you're not going to be the CEO of a company in 2 to 3 years, but that doesn't mean that you're not pushing to do more and do better.
So you said your birthday's in 2 weeks.
Yes, it's
Does
coming up.
that mean we're going to celebrate your birthday at the Tableau conference this year?
We sure are. I got a birthday twin that's going to be there as well, so I'm
Oh,
excited for that.
who's the birthday twin?
One of my colleagues, Vincent Bommel.
So it's now going to be out there live on YouTube for people to
Yeah,
hear
sorry,
all.
Vince.
All right. So if you're listening to this show and you see Allison at the Tableau conference in San Diego in 2 weeks, you'll have to be sure to wish her and Vince happy birthday. All right. Any parting words, Allison, for our listeners?
Oh man, that now it got difficult. My parting words are just keep going forward, like no matter what. I mean, roadblocks are temporary.
I think that's a good one. All right, you heard it. Roadblocks are temporary, and happy birthday to Allison in 2 weeks. And for those of you, please be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out our website, Be Data Lit. And if you are going to be at the Tableau conference in San Diego in 2 weeks, we will be there too. So come over, say hi. We might have some swag for you. Otherwise, take care, and we'll see you next time.